Hi everybody, this is Jamal from Jayz Internet Solutions. Welcome to another episode of Jayz TV. Today we are going to talk about security and risk. Okay, so cloud computing does all these wonderful things. It makes our life so convenient. It reduces cost. It makes us more effective. But what about security? What about the risk factors? Okay, and a lot of businesses are sort of concerned about this, and understandably so. Okay, so on security, I'd like to read this passage from this ebook that we're reading this week. To put it in perspective, ask yourself this, okay? Is there any reason to be less comfortable having your data in a cloud other than your own data center, okay? When managing a data center, you should compare your ability, right, against that of a third-party provider in supporting high availability, right, continuity, disaster recovery, power consumption, and the ongoing management of technical and physical infrastructure. Okay, so when sort of assessing security and risk with regards to cloud computing, consider how capable you are to run your own data center and to sort of support high availability, continuity, disaster recovery, etc., as opposed to a big company like Google. Okay. Now, I know a lot of people who you speak to sometimes during the day, and they say they can't work because their server's down. Okay, and sometimes this goes on for 2 days. So for 2 days, something went sort of hectically wrong in the data center. And then everyone in the company can't work, right? And a data center for some companies is a big room, right? I've been into a large corporation where the data center is a massive room full of big servers and lots of networking equipment. And for a small business, a data center is basically a small little, what do you call it, a cabinet, a networking cabinet with a server in there and some backup equipment, etc. and networking a rack, etc. Okay, so your data center will vary in size depending on on the size of your organization, but many people fall short in sort of managing that data center to the highest optimum level. Okay, so whereas backups are concerned, for example, some people will be running backups, right? They're either running tape, cassette backups, or other forms of backup, and I've seen this already where people are backing up for months, and then they hit a disaster, the server crashes or something happens, and then they realize that their backups weren't done properly. Okay, so in fact it means that they have no backups. Okay, so even after months of every day sticking in a new tape into the backup drive, it ends up months later that the backups weren't even being done properly on a daily basis. Okay, so there are a lot of things that sort of one should take into consideration when sort of considering one's own ability to sort of be efficient as far as management of a data center, how small or big that data center is. Okay. And I've been using, for example, I've been using Google Apps for possibly 3 years now, maybe a bit more than that. And I can only talk of 2 issues regarding the reliance and the security of Google Apps. Okay, one of it is that one night I wasn't working, but I was on Twitter, and people on Twitter were complaining that Google Apps is down. Okay, it didn't affect me personally though, because I wasn't working at the time. And it was in the evening in South Africa at the time. And the next morning when I logged on, Google Apps was working. Okay, so that's the one issue I can talk about, which is obviously not a big issue. And the second issue I can talk about is that now and again, I cannot get into Google Docs. It'll tell me the document is unavailable. But all I will do is I'll go on to another task, and 5 minutes later I'll come back to Google Docs, and there you go, I can access the document again. Okay, so these services aren't 100% perfect, but Google guarantees 99.9% uptime of their infrastructure, which is quite impressive. And from an experiential point of view, they do actually have 99.9% uptime of all their infrastructure. Okay, so I know quite a bit about IT. At the moment, my business is focused on internet services, training and consulting, on social media topics and cloud computing. But a couple of years ago, my business was focused on IT. So basically, we did networking, we did IT infrastructure, we sold servers, we set up servers for companies. So I have quite a good background in IT itself. And I do know that it would be more advisable and more sort of a better idea for a company to place their IT in the hands of a company like Google than to sort of try to manage their IT on their own. From a reliance point of view, from a cost point of view, and from lots of different other standpoints, your own infrastructure will very likely not be as efficient, as secure, as risk-free, or as at a lower risk than Google's infrastructure. Okay, and then another little paragraph I want to read here. In the infancy of online banking, people thought it was risky. Today, we know there's far less risk of fraud or identity theft with online banking than there is with manual mailing of checks and statements. Okay, so although from a non-intelligence point of view, it seems that the internet is more prone to risk and fraud and these type of things. Statistically, it's not. Okay, and you are actually more safe with doing your internet banking and other transactions online. Personally, I was arm robbed once. I went to the bank. I drew a whole lot of cash to buy equipment at the time when I used to sort of sell IT or hardware. And a couple of guys followed me from the bank, followed me to my home. When I got out of the car, they sort of pulled a gun to my head and basically said, I had to give over the money. Lucky I wasn't injured, but I did lose the money. And on the internet, I haven't experienced such risk or such harm and such loss even. So the internet is safer. There is a risk out there, right? There is potential for fraud out there. There is certain dangers out there, like in the real world, the offline world. You have a lot of danger as well. But if you compare the two, I would advise that you do your business online, you do your banking online, and you transact online, so that you can be more efficient. So I hope that sort of sums up risk and security with regard to cloud computing. This topic is obviously extremely broad. There's a lot to go into, but in a nutshell, as an introduction, that's what I want to share with you today. Until we talk again, this is Jamal from Jayz Internet Solutions. Crush it.